Welcome to Universal Man. My name is Mark Wepp and I'm here to help you sharpen your masculine edge. And in this video, I'm going to be teaching you how to dominate the status hierarchy. Alright, so sorry it's been a little while since my last upload. I got a little bit sick and then I went away for a bachelor party and I just needed a bunch of time to recover and rest and all that sort of thing. But I'm feeling better and I'm really excited to be back at it with this video because I think it's a very important topic that I'm going to be kind of really just outlining here and probably delving into the specifics of in much more detail, for the entirety of this project of Universal Man. I actually started hitting on this stuff in my interview I did with Dr. Loretta Bruning, talking about status, because I think understanding status, especially as a man with a bunch of testosterone, is very, very important because testosterone itself is intimately tied to status. So maybe I should just start off by talking about what the heck I mean by status. All right, so basically we are biologically concerned with status for a number of reasons. In fact, we have an appetite for status that is, it supersedes our appetite for food and even our appetite for sex because evolutionarily speaking, status is the way in which you obtain both food and sex. So let's look at how this works. All right, so if you are an animal in the wild and you challenge some other animal to food, for example, say there's a scarce amount of food and you need to compete for it. If you aren't able to judge whether your status is above or below that other animal, you might end up kind of picking a fight with something much bigger than you and getting killed. Okay, and so it's very important for animals and humans to understand our status so that we don't basically bark up the wrong tree, get killed, and fail to pass on our genes. And then for group mammals, especially like humans, your status determines, your mating opportunities, okay? So it's like, the higher up in status you are, the more likely you are to find a mate and pass on your genes. So basically we have, come from thousands of years of people who knew how to play this status game. And by raising your status and your dominance, you got more resources, more food, more mating opportunities, and all that sort of stuff. So we are programmed on a very, very deep level to want this status. And in fact, this is the way in which we gain serotonin, the feel-good kind of this self-esteem kind of chemical that makes you feel good about yourself. Every time that your self-perception of status increases, your brain releases serotonin. And every single time your perception of your self-status decreases, your brain releases cortisol, the stress hormone that lets you kind of, makes you kind of worry and get, anxious about your situation. So the kind of reality that you got to deal with here is that your good feelings, your sense of goodness, your happiness, it's a neurochemical reward that you have to earn on a regular basis. You have to regularly take actions and do things that you believe increase your status. And so you can't just kind of skate through life going, half-assing things, not pushing yourself, not pursuing the things that matter to you. Because if you kind of, take this easy way out, your brain's not going to give you serotonin. You're not really going to feel good about yourself because you weren't designed to feel good about yourself living in a low profile. So basically, the solution is you got to learn how to kick ass and conquer. You need to know how to dominate. You need to know how to increase your status. And your testosterone uniquely equips you to do that. I believe men are specifically designed. In fact, this is kind of what testosterone is linked to most is status-seeking behavior. It's this, this is your masculine edge. This is your fire, your drive that seeks you to, or that causes you to seek to excel and to dominate. Basically, you were designed to compete and strive. This is, right in at the core of your being. So there's really no shortcuts here. You need to figure out where you want to excel in life and then pursue it and tear it up. Go at it full force and make progress. Fail along the way, but keep growing and keep dominating. Keep pushing yourself to become a stronger, better version of yourself. This is the only way to really feel alive and invigorated and satisfied with yourself. Now, the thing that's unique about humans is that we can change which status hierarchies we care about. And because of this, we have to be very strategic and specific about what sort of status we're going to care about. And you need to really figure out which parts are going to be important to you and which parts are not. And this is where a lot of the tension and the issues around status come up. So Basically, there are two main ways in which I see that there is an unhealthy pursuit of status going on in the world. On one hand, we've got what I would call junk status, and what Dr. Lotta Bruning calls junk status, and then what I would also call like an imbalanced status. Okay, so junk status is when you're getting that boost of serotonin from some sort of progress or some sort of status boost that isn't actually good for you. It's kind of like how, eating junk food makes you feel like you're eating something good, but it actually makes you maybe sicker or less healthy in the long run. Same thing with junk status. So I'll just go through a couple of examples for you. So, video games is a big one, where you level up your character, and if that's all you're leveling up in your life is just your, video game character, well, that eventually is going to make you feel very unhappy. You're going to feel unfulfilled. You weren't designed to really thrive just on video games alone, right? So, video games can create this illusion of status that actually is, not really good. It doesn't really satisfy you because it doesn't really bring many benefits other than just kind of this virtual thing. Another big form of junk status is porn. Porn basically is tricking your brain into thinking that you're this big evolutionary stud who's having sex with all these women, when in reality you're just kind of sitting in front of your computer with some hand lotion and just being kind of pitiful in a lot of ways. You're just tricking your body into thinking that it's reproducing when it's not. You're just sitting in your basement and being sweaty and kind of gross. Another kind of unhealthy junk status would be what being popularly called virtue signaling. And this is where you go online or you're around other people and you just extol your virtues. You just say how that person's so bad because of what they believe or think, and I'm so good because I hold the right ideas. And it's really just talking. It's just trying to earn points of status by talking without really doing anything. And this ties into our outrage culture of today, where the political ideology on the other side, they're evil. You're so morally high standing and good because you blah 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 blah, and it's just this big masturbatory display of my values versus your values, but no one's actually really doing anything. It's just talking about it. You got to really, if you want to have authentic status and stuff, you got to really take good actions and do good things, not just talk about them, because otherwise talking about them creates the illusion that you're actually doing something when in a lot of cases you're not. And then kind of on the flip side of the virtue signaling is just trolling people. This is like, being a bully. It's just putting someone down. It's just, trying to anger someone, trying to make fun of someone, just knocking them down so that you can bring yourself up. And this, again, is just a masturbatory display, this kind of, primitive dominance where, you're just trying to prop yourself up on nothing of value at all. It'll release that little bit of serotonin, but this is not a good way to live. So that's kind of junk status, which gets in the way of this healthy, authentic pursuit of status. And then there's also what I would call imbalanced status, okay? And this is when you're pursuing something maybe that is good to an extent, but you're taking it way too far and other things are suffering because of it. So this is like, say you're, the popular place you see this is in the pursuit of money, okay? So money is a big, important, element of status for a lot of people. And if you take that pursuit of money too far, well, then a lot of other areas are going to, fall off for you. So maybe you sacrifice the health of your family. You stop spending time with your family or whatever so that you can spend all this time at work. Well, your status as a family man goes down, but your status as a moneymaker goes up. And, you're really not making a net gain there. You're just kind of, trading one for another. And if it gets bad enough, it's a net loss. You see this with sex too. You see people, sacrificing all of their morals and values, and so their moral status goes down, even though the notches on their belt in terms of sexual conquest goes up. And so it's this kind of imbalanced status that can really lead someone to the illusion that they're making progress when they're really just digging themselves in the hole. And this, both imbalanced status and junk status do that thing. They just kind of bury you in a hole where, your pursuit of this serotonin release leads you somewhere very unhealthy. So what's the solution? How can we combat imbalanced and junk status to make sure that we really can dominate the status hierarchy in a way that, a universal man should in an aligned, integrated method. The key is to make sure that your rise is the rise of the hero, not of the villain. And the way that you do this is by having essentially a value system. A value system is what you could consider almost like a meta dominance hierarchy or status hierarchy, meaning like it's a hierarchy of values that governs your progression through hierarchies. And if you follow this code, this code of honor, this code of ethics or whatever, then as you go up, you rise as the hero instead of the villain. So depending upon what your philosophical leanings are, it's going to change what this value system looks like. But there are 3 points that I think are very important, especially to this whole universal man concept. So the first one would be truthfulness. All right. When you go up, whenever you try to pursue status, you need to make sure that you rise in a truthful way, because if you build your ascent on lies, well, that's an unstable ground. It's something that's going to likely come back to bite you. And plus, it sucks living in a deceitful way. It sucks lying to yourself, and it sucks lying to other people. So you have to learn how to adopt this brutal honesty within yourself, and a bit perhaps more tactful honesty with other people. Second thing is, if you're going for this rise, this increase in status, you got to make sure that you're useful. And I think, being useful universally as much as possible, try to make your rise as good for other people as it is for you. And in doing that, you're really insulating yourself on a practical level. If you being at the top is good for other people, well, those other people are going to work to make sure you stay at the top. And that's what you want. You don't want to rise like, this cutthroat manner, because if you do that, well, then, you're going to hurt people along the way, and they're going to want to tear you down. So, there's a selfishness to this, but then on a more altruistic level, it feels good. It's good. It's a wonderful thing to be able to connect with others and to make sure that your rise is connected to theirs, because then you get camaraderie, you get brotherhood, you get connection with other people, and that's just simply a better way to live. And then the final characteristic that I think is really important to make sure you rise as the hero rather than the villain is dignity. And what I believe dignity is the recognition of inherent worth within a person. It's recognizing that every person, including yourself, has an inherent value that is unconditional, meaning that no matter whether your status goes up or whether your status goes down, your value as a person remains the same. It remains untouched. And this is very important, especially if you're at the bottom of the hierarchy, because from here, you have to figure out, well, if I'm down here, how can I justify, making my situation better? If I suck, why would I put this effort into helping myself? If I just suck, why don't I just treat myself like I suck, right? Well, if you have dignity, you recognize I am not my position on the status hierarchy. I recognize that who I am is something different, that human life is intrinsically different. And because of that, I can always justify valuing myself. I can always sacrifice for my own benefit. And this is like a big thing that's really important for addicts in recovery. They have to learn how to value themselves enough to sacrifice for their own benefits, that they can get out of that hole, right? And live a happier, more fulfilling life. But this dignity is even important at the top of the status hierarchy, because otherwise you get a massively inflated ego. And you see this all the time. You see people who have been very successful, they think they're better than other people. And then that can eventually lead to a downfall of sorts, because that's when you stop treating other people, with dignity. Because if you think you're better, then you think they're worse, right? And that's, you got to maintain that humility for your own peace of mind. And I think also for the ability to really function with other people as well. So let's try and summarize what I covered in this video, right? So the first point is that you've got an appetite for status, and that you need to satisfy that appetite in order to feel good, to release those neurochemicals that make you feel good in your brain. And so in order to do that, you need to find the status hierarchies that you're going to care about. So for me, that's like being a coach, being a good Catholic, being a good husband, these kinds of things. And it's your perception of status that matters. You need to figure out which hierarchies you're going to care about and just freaking kill it, increase and drive and grow. Now, as you do that, you just got to watch out for junk status and imbalanced status. So the junk status is that stuff that makes you feel like you're going up, but it doesn't really matter. And then the imbalanced status is when you're kind of sacrificing everything for one little bump, and then everything else goes to crap. So you don't want to do any of that. In order to keep yourself from falling into that junk or imbalanced status, you need to have a value system. And ideally, that value system contains truthfulness, usefulness, and dignity. And hopefully by embracing all of this, you can make sure that you rise as the hero in your own life and in the lives of others instead of being a villain. So I hope you guys found this useful and helpful. Please let me know what you think about this, whether you'd like me to go in more in depth in any specific thing, because I can unpack a lot in this topic. But otherwise, make sure you like, subscribe, follow me on social media, maybe check me out on Instagram where I try to, post, smaller form content. It's, I almost treat Instagram sort of like a little blog. But yeah, stay sharp, everybody. You guys are, really awesome. It's a really awesome community that we're building here, and I'm really excited for the future of all this. So thank you so much. Have a good one.